Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. Hey, it's Tuesday, November 11th, and first of all, on that note, I just want to say thank you to all the veterans who have served during their terms of service, as today is Veterans Day in America. Well, also, as you can see, I'm back home in Sedona, and it's really nice to be back here. Over the last couple of weeks, I was kind of on this, I don't want to say a whirlwind tour, but I was in all these places on these 3-day increments. It was really interesting. I drove over to Santa Cruz, California. Was there for 3 days. Then to San Jose for 3 days. Then to Malibu for 3 days. Had to catch a flight to Texas for 3 days. And now I'm back home here in Sedona for 3 days. And then I go to Denver for our workshop this coming weekend for 3 days. And on that note, yes, folks, there are still seats available. Would love to have you come. I have a larger room at the hotel this time, so there are lots of seats that are available, even if you would like to come on the scholarship rate of $25 or to bring a friend. Be willing to even do that because we have lots of extra room this time. It all depends on the hotels that I get and the size of the room that they have available. Well, 3 days in Denver. Then I'm back home here in Sedona for 3 days. And then I'm on to Orlando, where we have our special seminar with a personal representative from the Red Dragon family. And then I'm back home for Thanksgiving. Well, I want to say, first of all, again, thank you to the ambassador for appearing on the radio program last week, where we had another 2-hour Q&A. And I want to thank all the callers that called in and everybody that was listening. It was a great and wonderful time. And also, I want to acknowledge the fact that on Friday, the ambassador had appeared on another radio program with the host, Kev Baker. Great program. I was able to listen to it. It's a 2-hour program where he really gives a great overview of who the family is, the world situation, how they view situations, how they view events, how they view the cabal, and all types of subtopics as well. If you haven't listened to it, and if you've got the time, I would encourage you to do so. It's also on YouTube, and so I will put a link on this week's website and on this week's newsletter. So with that, the ambassador had made a couple comments that really stood out, things that I've shared with you, but I would like to comment on for this week. He said, first of all, if we really want to have change, the change is something that needs to happen from within us, the human race, collectively, with a change of consciousness. He said there's a tendency to want to turn to the family and want them to come in with their resources and fix all the world's problems. But as I've been saying for some time, and also as I teach in my workshops, the problems of the world are not something that are created by somebody or something else out there. They are problems that are created by us, the collective, with our thoughts. It's the power of human thought that creates all the circumstances and situations within our world. Excuse me here. I'm having to check my phone that is ringing, and I'm going to have to say no to that call. Thank you for that nice little break there. We are the ones that really create our problems. And he says, but there's a tendency for us to say is, I see these problems. These problems make me feel uncomfortable. I don't like them, but I want somebody else or something else to come in and fix my problem. And then what we do is we start blaming somebody else. We start blaming other things. And he says it's not the family's responsibility to fix the problems of Earth. It's the human race's responsibility to step up and change their consciousness that will bring a change to the Earth and to all of us within the human race. Let me give an illustration. And that's what happened last week here in the United States with the new election cycle. We in America have a tendency to blame Congress and the President for most of our problems. And the approval rating of Congress and the President reflects that. The approval rating of Congress is less than 15%, the lowest it has ever been. But here's the conundrum. The American people that say the problem is Congress, they turn around and re-elect the incumbents at a rate of 90 to 95% every 2 years. And they did it again. Can you see the conundrum? Can you see the real problem? We don't like what they're doing, but we continue to put them back in office. And why is that? Because here's my assessment, my opinion. We fear the change of someone different than us taking control more than we want the change. If you're a Republican, you fear the change of a Democrat being in power more than you want the change. And it's the same way if you're a Democrat, you fear the Republicans being in control more than you want the change. In essence, we're afraid of someone different than us being in power and control. And I don't think we're going to see any changes until we get past that fear. And it's the fear, as I always talk about, the real issue that creates most of our problems, the very root of all of it, is the power of fear. We fear change more than we want change. And folks, I don't think we're going to see a real change until that happens. I spent 20 years of my life in politics, 12 years as an elected official as a state senator. My other 8 years I worked on campaigns and I even managed a congressional race. And here's what I have come to as a conclusion. We won't see really any real change in America and reflected throughout the world until we are willing to let go of our fear and we're willing to say, I'm willing to elect from someone of a different party persuasion than myself because we just need to change the people who are there because we need to send the collective message. I really thought this year might be that potential year because the dissatisfaction that the public has toward Congress has really grown to what I call some epic proportions. Our political system is broken. Our healthcare system is broken. Our financial system is broken. Our education system is broken. And the list goes on and on. We know things are broken, but we really don't know, and I'm speaking to the collective, we really don't know how to collectively fix it. Well, there's one thing that I think that we can do. And the one thing that we can do is we can change the Federal Reserve. And we can persuade Congress to do that. Why is that? Now, please forgive me if I get this wrong. I actually didn't go back and look at my notes, but I think this is the correct statement. It's Article 8. It's either Article 8 or Section 8, but it's Article 8 of the U.S. Constitution. It says, Congress shall have the power to coin money and declare its value thereof. That's Congress's responsibility. Well, 100 years ago, Congress gave that responsibility to the Federal Reserve. They allowed a private company, a private corporation, to have the power to coin money and declare its value thereof. And since that time, you and I, the people, have lost control of the power of money over our lives, predominantly here in America, if not the rest of the world. Why? Because, see, the Federal Reserve is a private corporation controlled by its predominantly controlling stockholders, who are predominantly four families: the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Rockefellers, and the Warburgs out of Germany. Not only do they control the Federal Reserve, they also control the European Central Bank, the European Central Bank of the Euro. So in essence, they directly control the United States and Europe, which then indirectly controls pretty much the rest of the world. They control the printing and coining of money and declaring its value thereof all around the world. You stop the Federal Reserve in the United States, and you'll stop that, because it will create a domino effect that will go all around the world. Now, how can they do that? It's real simple. Congress just passes a bill and sends it on to the president saying, we are going to do away with the Federal Reserve. And it is totally in their power to do that. If there's one thing that the message that comes clear from the ambassador and the Red Dragon family, it's that we, the people, need to step up and take responsibility. The ambassador's passion, it's what he calls the war on ignorance. That we are ignorant and unaware and not willing to step in and take action upon what affects our lives more than anything else, and that's the power of money. We find ourselves slaves to a debt system, slaves to debt. And it's the Federal Reserve, i.e. through the cabal, that creates that problem. They have created us into a position of financial slavery. And we know, we've seen the stories. The wealthy get more wealthy, and the middle class is going away here in the United States. If there is one thing that we can do, regardless if you are a Republican or you are a Democrat, it's to send a message to Congress. It's time to replace the Federal Reserve. It's time to replace you, Congress, in coining money and declaring its value thereof, and take back your responsibility as it's declared in the Constitution, as it was intended to be, and not give that power to a private corporation that acts first and foremost for themselves, for their stockholders, and for the banks at the expense of the people, not on behalf of the people. And it's been growing for years, and it's now coming to a point to where we, the people, know, and Congress is finally starting to wake up, we are in debt beyond our ability to recover. That creates a power structure for the cabal to continue to operate as they see as they please and see fit. That's the change that you and I can make. Now, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write my members of Congress, and I'm going to tell every single one of them, I'm going to vote for whoever will take that vote and make that commitment, regardless of their political party. Now, in my home state where I served in the legislature, I personally know every one of the members of Congress except one. I will send that message to them, and if time allows and finances allow, I will make a trip to Washington, D.C. to visit them and to declare that message to them as well. It's time for them to step up and take that responsibility. That is the one thing that we can all do, regardless of our beliefs, regardless of our political persuasions, regardless of our spiritual affiliations, regardless of our perspectives and views on life. That is the one thing that we can all rally around and collectively do. When we do that, we will create the first step of the change that we want for ourselves. It's about freeing ourselves from this financial slavery that the cabal and the Federal Reserve has placed upon us. We can do that. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow night in the radio program. And I'll talk about that in conjunction with the power of fear, because it's the power of fear that lets us where we won't step up and do that. We are the people. There is a power with the people when the people collectively step up and move together in unison with a strong message. One thing I learned about my 20 years in politics, elected officials are reactive, not proactive. They will react to a groundswell. And they will react if they know that there is a threat to their staying in office. But as long as there is no threat, then they'll just continue the status quo. And they will react to who applies the most pressure. And who applies the most pressure? The power of money, the corporate dollars, the Federal Reserve through that system. But yet the people themselves are the ones that can be more powerful than all of the money when they collectively step together. Because, see, corporations don't get to vote. It's people who vote. If we make our vote consciously, if we make our decisions consciously, if we come together collectively, consciously, we can create the change. And I think you'll see the flow of change also that will take place. Will this change bring about the RVGCR quicker? I can't say that. Will it mean that we will be able to step in what we're hoping for sooner? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. This is one step that we can take that can make that difference. Take that action. Go to your computer. Send an email to your members of Congress and saying, this is my commitment, what I am willing to do, regardless, and I will not be afraid of the other party gaining somebody if that's what it means. Thank you very much. Would like to have you on the radio program tomorrow night to call in comments. We'll discuss this issue even further. Have an absolutely wonderful week, folks. I didn't say that right, did I? You get these little faux pas at the end of videos sometimes, don't you? Yeah, whatever. Thanks. I always enjoy your watching. Okay, bye-bye.